Welcome to the AI for Interior Designers podcast, where creativity meets cutting edge technology. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence and explore how it's revolutionizing the interior design industry. From AI powered design tools to the latest trends and innovations, we've got you covered. So plug in, relax, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to AI for Interior Designers podcast. P.S. This intro was written by and voiced by AI to sound like your host, Jenna Gaidusek.
All right, guys, welcome back for episode 48 of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Gaidusek, and guess what? I have a guest today. Yay! It's been a little bit, but I am finally back and excited to have Emily Allen Burroughs on with me today from DSA, Designer Society of America. So, hey, Emily, how's it going?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. We have known each other now for, I'd say, about a year, but I think you knew about my previous company before that.
Did.
Design You.
Yeah,
Okay.
Drive days, yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, long time. So we like recently reconnected at High Point because I do stuff with DSA and education and all that stuff. But for people that are listening that don't know what DSA is, can you give us a little like breakdown? What do you all do?
Sure. So here at Designer Society of America, our main foundation is education. That's where we started. Our founder, Natasha Younts, it was right around the 2005-2006 timeframe. So she was actually working on writing an interior design course. So the education part is really our foundation, and we've just grown off of that. And now I'm proud to say that we've got student members, we've got professional members, and a lot of our student members have become our professional members. And we want a society that's inclusive of every background. We see so many of our members that have such beautiful, diverse backgrounds, and we've seen how it strengthens each other in sharing information. So we're really here to support our members, provide education, kind of gap fillers. And then if there's anything our members ever need, that's what we're here for. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. We're a fun bunch. It was nice to actually reconnect at High Point Market because there were so many more lovely little, 1-degree connections that we even found getting together. So we're all about our community and education and making this field even better.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. So we partnered with a few different things before in the past year just to make sure that your students do get this AI education. But you all are really on the forefront of like the technology and just bringing education, myself included, to your members, whether they're current students or your email list or what have you. So staying ahead of the curve is something that a lot of universities are like just barely starting to introduce into their curriculum. What are you finding from your perspective? Because it's so unique.
It is. And honestly, with our connection with students, and when I say students, we might have green students that have never touched the field at all, or we might have students where this is actually their bonus career, is what we like to call it. They have backgrounds as an HR director or a lawyer or different things. But I really started to see a trend. It was about 2.5 years ago. AI was, nobody had really, it's not what it is today, but it was just really starting to gain traction. And I started to notice it with the students. And it has been a topic that's been a little bit difficult to find a happy medium on, because when I started seeing the trend with the students are almost taking it to the point where they're losing their own voice and relying on it too much. But then with some of our pro members that have been in the field years, they're almost apprehensive about it and are only touching it lightly. And I think for us, AI is a tool, just, Chief Architect, AutoCAD, Revit, SketchUp. Each tool has to be evaluated. And the fact that some just choose to ignore it, you're honestly probably using it and you don't know it, but also ignoring it is a detriment to our members, because at the end of the day, it's not going to replace you, but it could actually make us better designers. So, that's kind of where we land. We want to give our members that opportunity to familiarize themselves and hopefully get comfortable with it, and also train them the limits of, AI integrity as well.
I love that. It's almost like you just took the words right out of my mouth. Sounds like what I say. But I appreciate that coming from the education, level that you're on right now, that like you're looking for options, you're not ignoring it. You're looking for ethical use cases for students that will very soon be in the workforce and being hired by designers that maybe on the other side of that
Yeah.
spectrum, and they don't have the time or haven't really wanted to learn AI, but know that it probably is beneficial as these new softwares are coming out that will take a lot either off their plate or replace what they're doing. So like to stay relevant, students need to know. So let's talk about like the ugly side of this for right now, because we're in this place where like it is the Wild West and there are no real rules, just integrity. And some people just haven't developed that yet. So what have you found to be maybe issues? If you can speak on that. If you can't, that's okay too.
Well, a lot of the issues that I'm seeing specifically with, anybody that's relying on it too much is I'm seeing them lose their voice, especially when we're working with students and I'm seeing, assignments come through or we're helping them along their way and opening up a studio. I'm noticing these nuances that sound almost identical to each other. And it almost makes me feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone because I'll be like, I've read this
Yeah.
before. Where have I read this before? And
Yeah.
it kept, even, those 2 years ago, it started to gain traction where I felt like I was going crazy because the same information was coming across my desk. And I'm like, am I going
Yep.
insane? Is something going on? And it's really quick. I'm like, oh gosh, they're not actually using their own voice as the prompt for things. They're just relying too much on AI. And I think that's the part that I see as the ugliest part. I talked about AI integrity. I'm never going to discourage using it because again, it can make us better in so many ways as designers. And most of us as solo entrepreneurs, we can't be good at everything. I mean, there's no way unless you were absolute Wonder Woman or Superman, there's no way. So finding and evaluating tools in this field that's ever evolving, you kind of have to keep in the muck of it a little bit to get to know those nuances and make sure, you're not using it too much and you're losing your voice. Because at the end of the day, even after COVID, I think we're all looking for that human to human touch. We're not looking to talk to a robot. I think most of us, when we're calling somewhere for help and we end up getting like that monotone robot voice, nobody wants to talk to that. And I think the problem in just trusting AI too much and doing that, so many designers that have these wonderful abilities are losing their voice and almost losing their creativity in a way. It's almost like it's putting them in a box instead of opening the box, which it should be doing. So that's kind of the ugly side of it, from somebody that's apprehensive. They're causing more stress on them. I mean, they could find something that's a beautiful connection with AI that, takes away some of those pain points of running a business. Even if you're talking with a client where you're having a difficult, conversation, you're like, I don't know how to respond. You can at least use the back and forth to make you feel more comfortable before maybe you have to have that conversation. It's one of those things that I feel like it can almost teach us more empathy in design, because empathy is something you can't learn virtually. You have to, at that person-to-person contact, but at least it gives us the practice of doing it and having those conversations. So, losing the voice and then not finding those beautiful connections that can help you and alleviate stress. I mean, we all need that in some regard. So
I know, seriously.
if I could take a stressful thing off of me, I'm just, check mark. All right, on to the next thing. So.
Yep. And you were talking about just your shopping list for, being a mom with 3 kids. Like, I mean, it's not design related, but like it's those little tasks that are awesome.
I think most of us fall in that category. Mom of 3, I have my own business. I'm the director of education for DSA. It's like, where do you find time for all these things? We're so well connected nowadays. It feels like you don't have the breathing space. So if I can use AI to help me say, hey, my kids don't like this, and this, and I need a grocery list, and it helps tremendously. And that just takes one less little, you can just sigh a little bit and have a breath of relief just because, okay, one less thing. And now, maybe I could focus on something else for my business where that would take more time off my plate to be doing a grocery list. It's all about balance. I think that's where I really want us to land. And that's why I want our
Yeah.
members, both student and pro, to find that balance. And educating them in that is one of the most important things we could do, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's a lot I want to kind of dissect here. So the first part is working backwards. And this is something that we've talked about, just in passing in conversations, but to maintain that brand voice, if you're not going to, create a custom GPT or train whatever model it is that you're using specifically on samples of your brand voice, ways that you could do that in an organic way where you're not Googling something for lack of a, better AI word, I guess, is you're not being like, hey, tell me about this, and then write a blog where you're taking yourself and your experience and your knowledge out of it entirely. And that's where it gets so AI mucked up because clearly it's not you and it's regurgitated information and it all starts to sound the same, especially if you've never brand voiced, and trained it. So with that being said, one of my ways that I love to write stuff is verbally. So I will do audio clips into my phone or into ChatGPT, and then I'll say, okay, well, here's the facts. Here's what I want to write about. I'm not a good writer, so make it sound like me with the voice that I just used, which is my brand voice, and write a solid SEO optimized blog post using this transcript. So working backwards in that way, and I almost feel and please correct me if I'm wrong, they just don't know what they don't know, right? So everybody's here's the tools, you're in school, go figure it out. But there's no guidance. There's no do this or don't do that. It's just, I got to get this paper done and I have AI now.
Yeah. And it's almost underselling themselves too, which is the part that hurts me as kind of a self-proclaimed education nerd. You're not building your own foundation by doing these shortcuts, but then again, they're seeing it online where people are already doing it and they think it's okay because everybody else is doing it. But I think there will be a time where it starts to backtrack a little bit, and I'm actually looking forward to that in some regard. Because you're missing out on so many knowledge nuggets when you cut yourself short like that. And I think a lot of students, just because they see that it's okay, they don't also realize that they can tell, say, even if they have the basic version of Chat GPT, you can tell it, hey, don't change my voice, just look at this for grammar or, issues with, how well I'm, getting my point across. You can tell it no. And I think that's one of the things too that they don't realize. They just think that it's doing the best thing for them. And they're not really realizing that. But at the same time too, you're talking about assignments and I have an essay to get done. It is blatantly obvious when they use a prompt for an essay and it comes out almost looking like a presidential speech in some regards, because when it starts to use, when I see emails from students and I'm talking to them one-on-one, having conversation, and there's a natural rapport and a natural flow to their voice, and then all of a sudden you see something and it's furthermore, after, it's those little nuggets that I'm just you don't talk like that. Where's that coming from? And I think too, it's building confidence in the students too, because now that people are relying so much sometimes on AI, they feel that AI is better than their own voice. It's they don't think that having their own essay meets the standard that they want it to be at. But at the same time, I would rather have you express yourself and maybe have a few grammatical errors here and there. You're human. It's okay. I can probably make a connection with that. Just like if you're having a conversation with a client. Every now and again, I always call it, I get Elmer Fudd syndrome. Sometimes I roll over my words and stuff just comes out in a weird manner. But that, that almost breaks the ice because you have a little bit of a laugh. Everybody relaxes. You get to have this little spark. And I think that's the thing. It's but I love that you even mentioned you're not a great writer. So you actually use voice clippings to go into it. There's so many different avenues, and finding your own avenue is what everybody should be doing.
100%. I love that. Okay, which direction do we want to take this? There's so many things. I'm yes. Okay, so if they're doing that, right now we're just focusing on like the words and, like the research and the stuff behind that. We'll talk about images in a second, but now ChatGPT, with some of these recent updates, and there's been murmurs that this has been a thing for a while, but now when it's giving you answers, it is literally putting watermarks in the code. So when you copy and paste it, like now they're literally there.
Yeah.
I don't believe that they were actually there before, but people said that they were. Now I've seen them. So those are things that we can look for. Also, AI, is it AI or not.com? Like there's a ton of them out there where you can run images through and see like if things were actually done with AI. So keeping the integrity of that, and we'll talk about imagery in a minute and see if you're, well, really just see how they're using it. I'm just curious in their studies right now. But the other part of all of this was like, I went to write a blog this morning. Okay. So I'm using Perplexity as I'm driving, and the voice, obviously the voice feature while I'm driving this morning.
Sometimes your best voice comes out in the car. So I completely understand.
It does. It does. That's when you have all the time to think. Yeah. So I'm coming back and I'm like, okay, I just want to know, like, because I've been traveling for the past 3 weeks, what's new in the world of AI for interior designers in the past 3 weeks? And it was like so much. And I was like, now I know what I'm going to go back and do. Right. But when I asked further questions where I said, what specific tools would you recommend for AI? I, being like, doing what I do and having a tool list and like staying on top of these things, I wouldn't recommend a single one that it gave back to me.
Goodness.
So consider the information, because those were all client facing. Those were all consumer facing tools, or they were tools that I have tried and literally that's not AI. They're just calling it AI inside of these other programs. Because just like greenwash, we now have AI wash, where everybody wants to slap an AI sticker on it, even though like it's been tech that they've had forever and it's not technically AI, but it's a hot buzzword, right?
It's a buzzword. They kind of want to just put it in there so that,
And it's everywhere right now. So this list was extensive, but none of it was legitimate for like what I teach. And so going to like the student perspective, you're researching, right? Like you're looking at things, you're doing research, which I would recommend Perplexity over ChatGPT, even with deep research currently at this state, to do that, because it's live linking, it's live searching, it's giving you tons of sources. So you can actually go and learn and then come back and have an educated conversation. Like, is this actually in context to what I'm asking? Or is it just kind of a little blurb and a sentence that picked up and then like throws the whole thing? So what I'm trying to get at is like, when I'm doing this, the information, had I just say, okay, no, write a blog post about all that, none of that would have been things that I, as a professional in this space, would ever actually recommend. So consider that from like the designer or student standpoint, where like you are now infiltrating your education with information that it's biased and incorrect, but it was the sum of all the answers to the question that you asked. So that's a problem that I don't think people know. And again, like driving home the fact that like your voice carries more weight than anything, right? So transcriptions and voice clips and then converting it and making your own, that is the only way that we are going to successfully be able to continue to advance, or else we're just going to keep regurgitating the same information to each other found online, and it's going to get really gross.
And with just trusting somebody just jumping onto one, they're trusting that the information is up to date, which, we know for certain ones, it could be 2 years behind. You never know. But the trust factor is the hard part, because it's the same thing that you were saying. It's like, while it's not their own voice, they see the culmination of all of it and they feel like they're doing better because they're checking all the boxes. But in some regard, they're actually minimizing themselves and almost making it so bland that you really, by all of the sums, you're actually having no voice whatsoever. It's like, when somebody is trying to say, come up with a design concept and they've got different ideas here, you wouldn't take all of those and lump them together and try to hand that off, because that would just confuse someone. It's like, you've got to have more of a clear path forward, and pulling all this information from AI and trusting it and then summing it all together. It's almost like you're kind of lost in muck. You can't, like, which way's up here? Or, even reading different things, it's like, okay, I thought you were going this direction and then it turned and then you took a hard left. Where did that come from? It's like there's no navigation to it. It's just this
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
collective pile in some regards. So
Mhm.
it's just,
Yeah, and people that know what they're talking about, you won't find that. But if they don't know what they're talking about and you're reading that paper, you're like, clearly this is AI, and like they're not a trusted
yeah,
source because they AI this, right? Like, so there's that. Going back to your personal level, I agree. I think people are going to, after COVID, like we started to get back out and like see friends and do all that stuff again. We're going to get fatigued by
yeah,
AI. We're going to get sick of the chatbots. Like, they're fun, they're going to be tools, but it's going to be a Google very
yeah.
soon, where it's just like part of our life. And then once the hype is over, let's like go out and touch grass and make friends
Yeah.
again, you know?
Let's actually have like a human connection, something that's actually
Yeah.
tangible than talking.
Yeah. Or else, what are we doing this
I
for? Right? Isn't that what the shortcuts are for? To get us back outside and doing what we love?
honestly, yeah, freeing up your time, having that balance, having human connection, just
Yeah.
enjoying life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
hopefully everybody is kind of approaching, well, eventually I hope everybody approaches it in that manner.
Yeah.
I know right now we're kind of in that
Yeah.
transition period and everything's getting thrown out
Yeah.
there, and a lot of people are just like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not touching it because it's too overwhelming, and I
Yeah.
get that. It'll probably get a little
Mm-hmm.
more streamlined, but even if they got little
Yeah.
nuggets, like you helping us
Mm-hmm.
with videos and giving those little
Mm-hmm.
nuggets just to kind of tiptoe
Yeah.
them into that
Yeah.
arena, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of the tools and things that come out, it's like, I get it, it's the push. It's like they want you to jump in head first.
Mm-hmm.
They want you in there.
Yeah.
They want you to just like instantaneously just be using it and jumping in. I think the best
Yeah.
approach is those little small tiptoes. I mean, don't feel the pressure that you
Mm-hmm.
have to, you know, AI is everything and it's my voice and I'm going to use it for
Yeah.
everything. No, everybody's
Mm-hmm.
different. Find it for you.
Yep.
Everybody's going to have a
Exactly.
different prompt, and again, that's like starting with your own voice or starting with my own words in
Mm-hmm.
writing. At least it
Mm-hmm.
still has a voice instead of
Yep.
what we're seeing right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's tough to
Mm-hmm.
see because I'll
Yeah.
see so many students that have such beautiful creativity and then all of a sudden it just drops off.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
again, it's like that hard left. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where'd that go?
Yep.
Pull it back,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Totally. So we need to continue to teach the enhancement in the tool side of
yeah,
it and not the replacement. Like, I know it sounds so cliche, but like, I don't think people are really truly understanding what that
yeah,
means in the way that you use
yeah.
it. The more we're having this conversation, it's like dawning on me that like, yeah, we say this, but are they really getting that, So okay, let's take a hard left for a second and let's go over to like the image side
Okay.
of all of this. So I know that you get images, but what context are you having students right now utilize AI for imagery?
There's different ways that I'm seeing it. Obviously, there's been more advancements even in, the last week that you touched
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah.
we're starting to see some of those. I will say even starting probably about a year ago, I actually started seeing some consistencies, especially, evaluating, as part of DSA, we've got our RIDQC exam, so
Hmm.
certification for residential interiors.
Yeah.
We actually evaluate as part 2 of it a professional presentation. So seeing some of the floor plans that were coming across,
Hmm.
especially knowing
Mm.
what prompts they were being given and what's coming across, you can
Yeah.
almost see those nuances of using
Yeah.
AI. And it's almost like,
Hmm.
I know it's getting better with renderings and whatnot, but it's almost like if you had that eye to see in the renderings, like there was like 5 different things that are wrong with a rendering, the floor plans were
Yeah.
doing the exact same thing. It's like
Ah,
it looked good
yeah.
to a certain point, and then it's like it followed
Hmm.
no rhyme or reason when it got to another part of the floor plan. So we've been seeing
Yeah.
it in that manner. And then I've actually had, oddly enough, um, 2 presentations come across that had the exact same renderings. And I don't know if they were,
Yikes.
within like, I don't know how the grand scheme of
Yeah.
AI works. Maybe they were working on the assignment at close to the exact same time. And it just,
I don't know how that
I have
happens. I've
no
never
earthly
gotten the
idea.
same thing
There was
twice.
like there was one little tiny, I think it was like
Yeah.
a lamp that was like different, but everything else in the
So
room.
weird.
And I mean, there's no connection between these students, and there's nothing to
Yeah.
put them together. But yet, I'm seeing
Hmm.
the same stuff
Yeah.
being put out there, and it's like, ooh,
Mhm.
they
Yep.
probably have no idea that another student
Mhm.
submitted something that almost looks identical to them. And even on the
Yeah.
education side, even those AI, like, what is it? They can try to prove that it's AI. Even those
Oh,
have a
yeah.
hard time,
Mhm.
actually
Yep.
detecting. It's like they can
Mhm.
kind of give you a
Mhm.
percentage, but they can't really say for sure that it
Yep.
is. So
Yep.
it's this
Yep.
tough point where I guess with us being so immersed in education, I can see
Mhm.
those trends coming through and
Yeah.
seeing, okay, things are starting to pick up with using AI for renderings. I think it started really
Mhm.
with kind of like basic floor plans, and then it started
Yeah.
picking up steam where I've seen more and more renderings. And, obviously when handles aren't in the right place or lighting is off kilter,
Mhm.
and, we know all the things when
Yeah.
looking at an image. Um,
Yep.
it, unfortunately, I start to see similar things. And again, that comes back to
Yeah.
voice. Um,
Mhm.
I really do hope that we're kind of getting at the peak where people start to use it correctly and have integrity
Mhm.
in it, or even just state that, hey, you know what? I'd rather you say I'm not good at producing renderings. This is AI produced. I did
Mhm.
the floor plan, but AI helped me with this.
Mhm.
That's okay. It's
Mhm.
okay to say that rather than pass
Mhm.
something off as it being, your work all the time,
Right.
when I can
Which
kind of
is
see
so wrong.
similar things with other people that you may not ever
Yeah.
realize. It's
Yeah.
it's the transparency of it. It's okay to use a
Yeah.
tool. I mean, we would never say like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this floor plan, wasn't produced by AutoCAD," or what, it's okay. This was by
Right.
AutoCAD.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a tool.
Mhm.
So be
Yep.
okay with presenting it that way. But yeah, I do
Yeah.
see as the advancements are coming with renderings and imagery, it
Mhm.
is picking up steam a little bit more. And I know it's
Yeah.
probably going to get to the point where we can't see those nuances as much because it's getting smarter every day. Um,
Mhm.
but again, when they're not using their own voice, starting at the design, concept, and they're using some
Yeah.
of the similar prompts, it's just so funny to see how close
Yeah.
things are. It's
Yeah.
again Twilight.
And you have such a interesting perspective because you get to see that.
Mhm.
Like we as designers, like maybe we'll see it scrolling and we'll be
Yeah,
like, oh, well, that's kind of similar, right? But if students are submitting something based off the same work, and so like a similar outcome will probably happen, like that's kind of fascinating
yeah,
to me to see how that all
and
works.
that's why I thought I was going crazy at first when I started to see it
Yeah.
picking up, because the students
Hmm.
might have been a couple months apart, but then at the same time, my brain's
Yeah.
like, I've seen that somewhere. Where have I seen it? So it's
Yeah.
like now that the use is picking up too, it's like I can start connecting it faster,
Yeah.
where it used to be kind
Yeah.
of like little spurts. I'd see it in spurts and then
Hmm.
it would kind of level back
Yeah.
out. So
Yep, depending on what's hot, and
yeah,
now ChatGPT and all these other updates. So going forward, like, and you can or can't answer this, it's totally up to you, but I'm just kind of curious, like, what do you think students will be focusing on? Because like I said, like a lot of designers that would want to hire these students in the workforce when they get out, they will probably want somebody that has AI education under their belt, right?
yeah.
So they can bring that to the table and set themselves apart. So, are you in any of the curriculums or classes or what have you? Is there any AI infusion being taught right now or projected to maybe
To
teach?
be honest, what I'm seeing now, no. It's
Okay,
almost like nobody quite knows how to approach it. Um,
sure.
if somebody reaches out to me, if you're new to the field, there is
Hmm.
nothing more important, personally to me, and being successful in this field is hand rendering or hand sketching and doing floor plans.
Yeah.
I see it as almost
Hmm.
an evolutional thing where they need to integrate it
Yeah.
later, but have them start with that
Hmm.
hand drafting, because they're
Yep.
unfortunately, with there being so much trust in any
Hmm.
online free programs or anything, they assume that it's
Yeah.
correct. But if you don't have that
Right.
foundation of drawing floor plans, knowing what clearances you need, it's
Yep.
again, they assume it's correct. And then you see a kitchen design that might have
Hmm.
18 inches to enter the kitchen, and like, okay, that's not good.
They don't
Are you going to
understand
climb over
real
the counter?
space.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's got to be an evolutional thing where you start with the
Yeah.
physical and then you start
Hmm.
tacking the AI in to build
Yeah, I
on
love
those
that.
strengths. Um,
Hmm.
I would love to integrate technology up front, but I think it's in order to have that integrity and to build your foundation and to weave it
Mm-hmm.
naturally into how you use it,
Yeah.
the physical has to come
Mm-hmm.
before the digital. So
I love that answer so much.
I'm such a nerd. I mean, I still have I still have a drafting desk. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's a stress
Yeah.
reliever to me, believe it or not. In education,
Mm-hmm.
way back when I was in college, it was so stressful learning to
Yeah.
draft. And I
Yeah.
try to tell anybody that's been in the field, it takes time to perfect a floor plan. So,
Mm-hmm.
start from the floor up. And it's the same thing with
Mm-hmm.
this. Start from the foundation up. All the
Mm-hmm.
tools are just these beneficial pieces that end up making you more
Yeah.
efficient later on. But if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have that
Mm-hmm.
core, you're not going to know, your right hand from your left hand in some regard when it comes
Right.
to concepts, floor plans, making sure things are functional.
Yeah.
It kills me when you see floor plans
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, I guess you got to climb over this to get into here, or
Yeah.
just the thought process of having those pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. For me, I think it's going to be a long time before I trust AI with a floor plan because, and I know there's tools out there that are doing it right now and they're like trying to find efficiencies, but like in the end, there's such a disconnect from the computer side to the real
I know.
world with all of this and the feasibility. And that is something that you can never take away from designers, architects, builders. Like we have that. And it all starts with that foundational drafting
Yeah.
class that, like, I had this super French professor. It was my first semester, and I
Turkish.
will
It's
never
so
forget
funny.
it. Yeah. Yeah. She was, oh, she drilled it into us. And my handwriting is sloppy. I cannot draw. I can't even draw a straight line, focusing so hard on it. Like that's why I went into the digital space. But like, man, because that was a struggle and like doing it, I am so much better, I think, as a designer because of that. So if people feel like they can skip over because these AI tools are out there, or if homeowners are just like, well, I don't need a designer because these are out there, it's the fundamental building blocks that you just described, and also like the second set of eyes for
Yeah.
reality that would look at these images and be like, it's just not feasible. And this is a conversation we've been having for since these mid-journey images started coming out, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, well, that's obviously AI. And it's like, yeah, obviously, like it's the fireplace
Yeah.
has a sofa in front of it every single time. But
Like the legs are missing on a side table. Like it's just floating in
yeah,
midair. Yeah.
the rugs under the
Yeah.
island.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Yeah. Like, but the other thing is, like, you're still seeing it on Facebook, and it drives me
Yeah.
freaking nuts because it's these people that are trying to build up these accounts and they're sharing all these things. And then you get like the boomers, like my mom, I love her, but she would not do this. But like, that's the age group that's now on
Yeah.
there, and everything they see, they think is real. So they're
Oh
like,
gosh.
where's that paint from? And I sit there and I comment, I'm like, there's no paint, it's not real. There's no island, it's not real. And I'm like, I need to get a life.
No,
But like, stop doing
it's
it.
like one of those things. It's like, do I comment? Do I not comment? But at the same time, it almost
Yeah.
puts a pit in your stomach when you see these just,
Yeah.
new accounts that are created and all they have is AI imagery. And you just know as a
Yeah.
designer, it's like, that's not plausible. That's not real. You
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And they just, the natural trust, it's hard. You just want to like
Yeah.
have this like flashing light, be like, don't believe everything that you see, something. Because
Exactly. Yep.
those programs, I would love to see if it evolved into something where it's a double checker for us, because if you have that foundation, we know that we have different clients day in, day out. You might have somebody with a different ability than someone else that you have to design for. Those programs
Yeah.
aren't going to have that information. If somebody is, aging in place, or you need to have universal design, those pieces aren't there. And at the end of the
Right.
day, it's not going to work because it's not individualized to do
Yeah.
that. That's why it's got to start with you.
Yeah.
It truly does. And then go from there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love for it to be like a double checker for us, because who wouldn't love a double checker? But again, at the end of the day, it's yours.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep. And we're talking about like the downside of this, but on the upside, like the creativity when utilized properly can really like help already creative people.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, like my backdrop in my office, like I'd never painted anything like this before. It goes around my entire office. Like there's cool stuff on the other side too that I never show, but like I had no idea what I was going to do until I used generative AI to be like, here's the colors I have in mind.
Yep.
I want something kind of like an arch. And then it propelled my creativity. I created my color palette to go with the rest of my house, not like my brand, right? It does, but for the flow of the house. And like, the other side of the room, you would never see that in the images that I generated. But because I retrofit that design concept and ideation into this space, I never would have come up with this without that. Like, I'm just not, that good at paint.
Well,
We'll
and
say.
there's nothing wrong. That's why I would never discourage the use, because it's almost like a brainstorm help. It's a positive thing.
Yes.
It's like you might have a start or a flicker in your head, and you kind of have an idea, like
Mhm.
the colors you were talking about,
Yep.
and what kind of shape
Yep.
or what you really want it to,
Mhm.
look like. And it could give you ideas that spark something even better. I mean, that, even
Yep.
in design, normally it's, by the time you get to your like fourth or fifth iteration of it, that's when like the
Mhm.
juices start flowing. So if AI can help
Yeah.
you bridge that gap
Mhm.
and finding something, then
Mhm.
why not use it as a
Yep.
brainstorm? It's
Mhm.
still you. It all comes back to you, but at least you started it, and it's kind of like propelling you forward in a good way.
Mhm. Yep.
So
Yep. Visual communication to like retrofit, like I said, little pieces. So like if you've got an image of a range hood over here and then a banquette seating area that you imagine for this space, like, but then you take those ideas, you verbally communicate them to your client, and you're like, are we on the same page before I go sit and render this for 8
yeah, oh
hours?
gosh,
Just want to make sure, because that's your money and
yeah,
mine.
or you have an idea and the client's like, yes, 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 and then you go work on it for hours, and then you come
Mhm.
back and they're like, I don't remember this. Like it's almost like
Right.
for us as
Yeah.
designers, it's those double checks that we already have in our head. But as someone coming into it that
Mhm.
doesn't have that knowledge, they might agree with something
Yep.
and think they understand, but then when they like
Mhm.
physically see it, it's kind of like my husband. He always jokes. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm colorblind. He'll look at a color and he'll say, I see this. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, honey, it's this, this, this. And he's like,
Yeah.
how? And I'm like, I, I've just
Yeah.
been trying. I don't know. It's one of
Yep.
those things.
And his eyes just read it differently with the
Yeah.
wavelength. So it's hard. But if you have that, like, here's the brass that I'm thinking,
Yeah.
and this is part of my questionnaire actually, like different wood tones. Like, I'm not going to label what wood tones
Oh,
and
God.
what finishes they
Yeah.
are. Point
Which
to
one
the
do you
one you
like? Yeah.
like. Yeah. That's it. 'Cause what you see might be different than what I'm actually seeing looking at the same
Yeah,
picture.
there's
And that's
nothing
okay.
worse than, a client saying like, I want modern mountain. And in our brains we know what modern, the level it is of
Hmm.
modern, and then you come back and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a little too much for me. Like
Yeah.
I'm,
That's rustic.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
so if there's those
Yeah.
shortcuts, that it's like those visuals that can cut through kind of, in some regards, red tape when you're starting with a client,
Yeah.
and it gets down to like the brass tacks a little bit more to streamline things.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, do
Yeah.
it. It's amazing.
Yep. Yep. It makes the process go smoother, just with communication in general, getting transcripts from
Oh yeah.
conversations that can like bounce you to the next step, right? And then like in the end, everybody's
Yeah.
happy because like there's no guesswork and it went so much faster, like so much faster.
And then you don't have like, 6 notebooks sitting beside your desk from where you've been like
Yeah.
scribbling notes constantly.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Exactly.
recordings of video, like having those note takers has been a game changer. Just to like,
Yeah. I won't take a phone call without
oh
it.
gosh,
I'm like,
it's
I don't remember.
well, especially if you have multiple ones in a day and you start getting
Yeah.
people crisscrossed in your brain.
Hmm.
At least there's
Yeah.
like these touch points so you can go back and be like, oh, this was this person.
Hmm.
Okay, woo, I
Yeah.
got it. We're good. I'm, back on track.
Exactly.
Because
Yep.
blessed before the time that we had this, and it did streamline things,
Hmm.
because how did we ever get
Hmm.
our heads on straight in some regard? Like,
I don't know.
I don't either.
Barely doing it
I
now.
know. Yeah, I know. Oh gosh. It depends on the day, right?
Yeah. Yes. Today's not one of those
Well,
days. I'm gonna be honest. It's a Monday.
it's Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, this has been awesome. I just like love the perspective that you bring from DSA and hearing about all this. So thank you for this excellent conversation. Is there anything else you want to add, or can you just tell people where to go if they are interested in getting involved with the community?
So for DSA, we're actually in the throes of a relaunch later this year,
Yay.
which we're really excited about. We actually launched our student membership. We just had our first year anniversary in February.
Oh, yay.
So that was kind of the drive. You know, we've been so focused on education for so many years, and now we want to show our members some love. So it's coming.
Nice.
You are welcome to come to our website, reach out, dsasociety.org. We're here.
Okay.
We've got open ears, reach out. We'd happy to have anyone.
All right.
So we've seen so many beautiful things. It's so funny. And then, we've had members that found out they were down the street from one another. And
wow.
It's just so much fun.
I love that.
Like that's the part that just drives us forward every day, is those little interconnections.
Yeah.
So we're here. We're here to help.
It's a great community.
We want this field to be the best it can. So
thank you. And I've gotten that from day one when I met you all. So I highly recommend, guys. I do genuinely love this group and the education they bring to it. And you even have like special offers for your members, because I know I have one with you guys that nobody else has. So there's definitely perks to joining the DSA. I will link everything in the show notes, but thank you so much, Emily. I really appreciate you being here.
It was fun.
It was fun. All right. We'll see you in a year. We'll catch up and we'll just see like where everything is.
Hopefully we can see each other again at High Point, planning this fall. I missed this last one, but I'll be there in the fall. So
you didn't miss much. It was a little quiet, so it's okay. I'll see you in the fall.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tune in next week for more AI tips for your design business. See you next time.